Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Cutler here, the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast. It's another Thursday, and the week is running out. The month is running out, and I hope we're not running out. It's the 19th of October. It is a day, a birthday of several of my friends, but it's the day after several birthdays of family members, and so this month is filled with nostalgia for me. And I have on my Howard University T-shirt, my Howard Bison. It's not a T-shirt; it's a sweatshirt. Color, get yourself together. But I have this on in celebration of homecoming week. I think for the next few days I'll be in homecoming paraphernalia. But that's just my inside thinking. My inner voice is just thinking and talking. I just decided to share that with you all. But listen, I'm so thankful for this time that we spend together. We spend 1,800 seconds together every Tuesday and Thursday, and we're talking about things that I hope are inspirational and motivational, and things that challenge us to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. I hope we're talking about things that challenge us to make sure that we are better today than we were yesterday, and that we are striving to be better tomorrow than we were today. It doesn't mean that there has been a deficit or failure in anything. It means that we're just deliberate and intentional about evolving into our best selves, even in the worst of situations. Life throws you curveballs and all those sorts of things, and we don't always make a grand slam. We don't always hit a home run, but the goal is to make sure that I show up on the field, and I show up on the field as my best self. We should just strive to at least show up. If you show up as your best self, you may not necessarily win the game, that particular game, but you've shown up and you're present and you are there, and your being there is what makes a difference. So show up as your best self, because sometimes you're not always able to do your best, but show up your best. You can always show up as your best. I mean, imagine that you have to go somewhere and you may not feel 100%, and people may not necessarily know how you feel, but when you show up, you look like $1 million. And just showing up looking a certain way speaks volumes about you before you ever open your mouth, before you ever engage in any activity. So again, we just want to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. We're going to talk this evening about how to handle some of the barriers in our lives, and what that means and what that looks like. But again, I just want to thank those of you who have been with me for the long haul. Those of you who show up these Tuesdays and Thursdays, those of you who catch the replays, and those of you who will send comments and will send emails and messages. I certainly appreciate it. I have a huge backlog. I mean, I just have to confess, I have a huge backlog in my emails, and I'm trying to plow through them. But thank you all for continuing to send them. I promise you, maybe over the weekend I'll get to them. But I have a huge backlog, a huge deficit, and I need to take care of those things. But again, I want to shout out those of you who have been with me for a while. I want to shout out the LTTC VIPs. Those are the people who jump over to the chat. They beat me into the chat. You all know the routine. They beat me into the chat, and sometimes they get there before I do. And I don't necessarily see it the way that you all do on your end, but from my end, it looks like Hattie Boone, Marissa, and Annie Cutler are the first people over in the chats. Now, I see others of you online. Come on over and say hi. Say hi to the rest of us who are in the chat, those who are here talking, and just come on in. What's interesting is I feel like this is just a family moment where I can just pull up a seat and we have a fireside chat. We'll just sit around and chat around the fireplace and in the living room, or at the fire pit out in the backyard, out on the patio, on the deck. I feel like I'm having one of those evenings. It's kind of nostalgic. Maybe I should break out the graham crackers, the chocolate, and the marshmallows and make s'mores. Maybe that's what I do after this broadcast. But again, thank you. And let's talk this evening about how to handle barriers. There's so many things that we run into in life. You know, have you ever been doing what you do, trying to succeed, trying to reach your victory, trying to reach the finish line, trying to reach your goal, trying to obtain success. But for some reason, you run into a stumbling block. You run into something that's called a barrier. It happens to all of us. And as we're talking about, showing up our best selves, even in the worst of situations, we run into these barriers to success. And of course, success looks different for so many people. It consists of so many things, but it tends to be dependent on individual preferences and individual desires and what you think success may be and what you think a victory may look like. Because for one person, it could be this high profile job that could be success for one person. For another person, it could just being able to say goodbye to a job that you've been working on forever and then just move into a comfortable life of retirement. That's what success could be for some people. But what I know, or at least my experience has been, that success is easy to achieve whenever you're going at 100%, whenever you're giving 100%. It really is. Success is not so difficult when you are giving 100%. So think about it. Think about any measure of success that you have achieved, any goals that you have obtained, any dreams that you have realized, and think about what it took to get there. Many times you are working at your maximum capacity. You were doing what you knew how to do. You hung in there. You may not have felt good every day of your life. You may have not felt good on the job. And so now I'm specifically thinking about people who have reached retirement. You may now be in retirement and you're thinking, was I actually operating at 100% capacity? Yeah, you were. You were. And 100% capacity doesn't mean that you felt good every day. But 100% capacity meant that you had perseverance. It meant that you had the wherewithal to survive, to endure. Yes, you are functioning at 100% in one respect. But for some of us, retirement not being the success measure right now. But for some of us, there are other measures of success, and we sometimes get in our own way. We sometimes get in our own way. Think about some of the things that you want to do, some of the things that you would like to do, but for some reason, there's something in your way. There is something in your way. But if you want to know what it takes to really accomplish your goals and your objectives, to cross the threshold, to cross the finishing line, if you want to know what it takes dedication, it takes trust, it takes certainty, it takes sacrifice, it takes a positive attitude, it takes hard work, it takes all of those things. But sometimes there is something that gets in the way, and it's called a barrier. Success is when you're trying to realize your aspirations, when you're trying to hang on to your hopes and you're trying to hang on to your goals and you're shaking your doubts from time to time. That's what success means. Success means that I'm on this trajectory to achieve all of those things, and I had to shake off my doubts from time to time. And it is not always easy. And I'm going to talk about that this evening. There are barriers. There are many barriers to success. Fear can be a barrier to success. Self-doubt can be a barrier to success. Worry can be a barrier to success. And sometimes when we're on this trajectory to success, we're on the road to success, sometimes we get in our own way. And we let things like fear, self-doubt, and worry, we let those things cripple us. We let those things interrupt us. We let those things create potholes in the road. But I come to offer tonight the ability to conquer the barriers in your life. That is my offering, the ability to realize that. Listen, and in fact, the offering is not only the ability to conquer the barriers, but my offering is the ability to realize that you have the wherewithal to conquer the barriers. Some of us have the wherewithal, and that's what we don't realize. You have the strength to do it, but you keep denying that you have the strength to do it. You have the ability and the potential to succeed, but sometimes you don't even look at the ability or the potential that you have. Or someone has created blinders so that you don't see what you possess. But I offer us the ability tonight to remove the blinders and see that you are capable of the success that you want. Yes, there are lots of barriers to success, but one of the things that we need to do is to take off the blinders and realize, you know what? I have everything within me to succeed. I have the wherewithal to succeed. I have the strength to succeed. I have the potential to succeed. I have the power to succeed. I have the skills to succeed. I have the motivation to succeed. I have it all within me, but for some reason, somebody has caused me not to see what I have within me. I offer us the ability to take off the blinders. I offer us the ability not to be intimidated by what we possess. And that has nothing to do with arrogance or ego. It has everything to do with the fact that you take a look at what the Creator poured inside of you. Because there really are treasures within these earthen vessels. There really are. But life beats you up and people will beat you down. And somewhere along the line, somebody calls you not to see the treasure that is within your earthen vessel. I come to dispel the myth and the naysayers who want to have you play this song over and over in your head that says there is nothing good within you. The devil is a lie. There's a whole lot of good within you. So it's not always the barriers that are the problem. Sometimes the barrier really is the blinder. But I'll get to the barriers in just a moment. But before I could get to them, I just felt the need to talk about our inability to see the beauty inside of us and to see the things that we really possess. Because life beats us up, and people in your history, people in your past have a way of playing this song over and over in your head. But while they're playing this song, or this song is playing over and over in your head, I want to walk you through some of these barriers that we sometimes deal with. Some of the barriers that we sometimes deal with, barrier to success. One of the things, and this is true, not enough time. Well, listen, the time definitely is a barrier. But what we need to be able to see, so for every barrier, I want to take the blinders off and show you what to do. So the barrier that says, I don't have enough time, or whenever time is a barrier, take off the blinder and realize and see that you have the ability to set aside the necessary time so that it is possible to meet your deadlines. It is possible to reach your goals. It is possible to obtain your victories, and to do it without a lot of unnecessary pressure. So yes, if time is a barrier, remove the blinder that says, or that does not allow you to see. All I have to do is set aside some time. When time looks like a barrier, take off the blinder and say, listen, let me look at the calendar, let me look at the clock, let me look up at the watch, and set aside some time. Let me just do all of that. Another barrier that we sometimes deal with is burnout. If you are looking for a barrier to success, one of the key barriers that we sometimes deal with is burnout. And that's because this thing that we call life is moving so fast, it is so dynamic. And you can be as dedicated as you want, you can be as hardworking as you want, but life will happen, and life will cause burnout. This desire, this whole notion to reach your goal, it takes a toll on your physical health. Let's not ignore that. The desire, the strive to become successful takes a toll on your physical health. And you end up dealing with things like burnout. So I want to talk about this because sometimes we encounter things, we deal with things, and we're blind to what is going on, or at least we want to ignore what's going on. But a lot of times it takes a toll on your physical body, and you're dealing with stress and fatigue and exhaustion and anxiety, and sometimes depression. It becomes an integral part of your life, and it can lead to burnout. Take off the blinders and see what's going on with you. Look at the reality of what's happening when you start feeling stress and fatigue and all of this stuff. It's easy to overcome this whole notion of burnout. Al Cutler, lead a balanced life. Take care of your physical health. Take care of your emotional health. Take care of your mental health. Listen, meditate and read and study and just practice moments of just breathing the air and just looking at the the stars and the sky and acknowledging the beauty of nature. Just do that from time to time. Take off the blinders and realize, you know what? I'm dealing with stress. I'm dealing with anxiety. Sometimes we just keep going through things and we will ignore it. It's like an ostrich sticking our head in the sand. You know what's going on in life, yet you bury your head in the sand and act like everything is all right. I got it all together. Ain't nothing affecting me. I'm good to go. But you're burning yourself out. And I offer us the ability to take a look and see what's going on in our lives and say, you know what? I need to do something about this. I need to lead a balanced life because nobody's going to look out for me better than I can look out for myself. I need to look out for my physical self. I need to look out for my emotional self. I need to look out for my financial self. I need to look out for my mental self. I need to look out for my educational self. I need to look out for my spiritual self. I need to look out for my biological self. I need to look out for my physiological self. I need to look out for myself. Was I on a roll? Y'all, I'm telling you, we've got to look out for ourselves so that we don't suffer burnout. Burnout can be a barrier to success. It really can. So not only time, and I offer us the ability to set aside time, not only burnout, but I offer us the ability to strive to live a balanced life. You know what else can be a barrier to success? Poor communication skills. Poor communication skills. Sometimes we don't even know how to communicate with ourselves, much less other people. But effective communication skills can be the backbone of your success. And when we don't know how to communicate with ourselves, when we don't know how to communicate with others, sometimes our failure to communicate, it creates toxic relationships. You want to know how some relationships become so sour, how some relationships become so bitter? It is because of an inability to communicate effectively. That is how some relationships just go from 100 to 2 in 5 seconds. Poor communication skills will ruin a relationship. Poor communication skills will interfere with your ability to realize your goals. Poor communication skills can just be a barrier to so many things. Really can. And what we need to do is to be open to the critiques that we get from people who are important to us and the people that we can trust in our lives. So sometimes when your communication skills aren't the best, we need to ask people, did that make sense? Did that make sense what I just said? Make sure that you are open to scrutiny. Make sure that you're open to critique. Tell people, I need you to listen to me. Sometimes I need to bounce this off of you. Because none of us have it together all the time. And so we need to make sure that we're saying to people, hey, can I bounce this off you? Can I just run something by you? Particularly if you know people and you can trust them. And here's something that you are, and people used to think this was a wonderful and great and grand thing, but it is not wonderful. It is not great. It is not grand. But this whole idea of perfectionism, it is a good thing to want to be excellent. It is a good thing to strive for excellence. But in a lot of cases, this whole notion that says, I'm just a perfectionist, this whole abundance of perfectionism, it can be a barrier to success. Cutler, why would you say that? Isn't it great for people to want to be excellent? It is wonderful for people to want to be excellent. But this whole notion of, I'm a perfectionist, that means I'm never satisfied with the results. Really? You are never satisfied with anything that you do. You are never satisfied with anything that anybody else does. That's a perfectionist. And we say things like that. We say to people, oh, I'm a perfectionist. And we boast as if it means I'm above the cut. I'm above the rest. But to say that you're a perfectionist means that you are never satisfied with any kind of result. And when that's you, you become a barrier to your success. I'm just trying to show us how to identify these barriers. I'm also trying to give us an option another way of being so that we can do something about it. I used to say it myself when people would say, "Oh, you want to turn this paper in, or can you read this paper?" And I said, "Well, okay, give me this paper." And I looked through the paper, and if I saw one mistake that I made, I said, "No, I need to redo this whole thing." "Oh no, Color, you don't need to redo it." "Yes, I do." I said, "Because I'm such a perfectionist." I later discovered that that wasn't always a good thing, because you will burn out. Speaking of burnout, you will burn out. Nothing will ever be good enough. And so one of the things that I had to learn how to do is to just let some things go. I had to accept that nothing is perfect. Let some things go. Had to acknowledge the fact that nothing in this world is perfect. I get it on the spiritual plateau, on the spiritual level, that things like perfect love. There's perfect love, and I get all that. But I'm just talking about from a very pragmatic and practical standpoint and point of view. Those of us who boast about being a perfectionist, you have to realize nothing in this world is perfect. Learn how to let some things go, because otherwise you will become your own barrier to success. Your own barrier to your dreams, your own barrier to your goals, your own barrier to your aspirations. Now, some true barriers is the fact that from time to time, you may not have the resources that you need. That's a true barrier. It happens in life. And so one of the things that we have to do is to make sure we have to take our time before we set out to do a thing. We have to make sure that the essential resources are available. Because we will start and realize that we don't have the resources. But before you start, make sure that the resources are available. That's all I'm suggesting. Sometimes we do have access to the things that we need, but we'll start out doing something. And when we start out doing something, we don't have everything within our reach. So make sure that you have the resources. Make sure that the opportunities are there. Make sure the right human resources, the right people in your life, the right financial resources, the right emotional resources, the right spiritual resources. Just make sure that the right resources are within your reach. Because if you start out and they're not within your reach, and that's what I'm speaking on this evening, make sure that they are within your reach. Sometimes we have them in our lives, but not within our reach. Oh, that's a difference. Make sure that your resources are within your reach, not just in your life. Make sure they are within your reach and not just in your life. And then can I tell you this, you all? When we're talking about just barriers that we sometimes encounter, barriers that we sometimes deal with, barriers to our success, barriers to our victories, barriers to seeing our dreams come true. One of the barriers that we sometimes deal with is a lack of innovation. Innovation means the ability to think about doing something in a different way, in a new way. And sometimes we're so stuck in doing things the old way until the new is just beyond our reach. It's beyond our grasp. It is beyond our imagination. Sometimes you have to be open to innovation, doing something a different way, a new way. You all talk to me. Have you ever encountered barriers to your own success? I talked about fear and self-doubt and some of those things. I talked about not putting enough time aside. I talked about this whole notion that, excuse me, I sound like my grandmother for just a moment. But there are different barriers. And so I'm wondering, what are some of the barriers to your success? Sometimes we don't do well working alone. That could be a barrier. Sometimes we don't recognize the small victories and the small wins that we really do achieve. Sometimes that can be a barrier. We don't give ourselves enough rewards to motivate us. That can be a barrier. Sometimes this whole notion of just uncertainty, insecurity, and doubt, that can be a barrier. Because one of the things that you want to have are clear goals and objectives and missions and vision. You want to make sure that you are clear about those things. You want to make sure that you have clarity about your goal, about your objective, about your mission. Because when you're clear about that, then your outcomes will be clear. You can't have clear outcomes without clear objectives. We want to be clear about all of these things. Cutler, you're just talking. But because a lot of these things are barriers to our success, we bring this stuff on and we don't look at it. We don't see it. We're blind to some of the barriers that we create. Yes, there's sometimes when other people toss barriers into your life, they toss barriers into your lane because here you are in your own lane and other people will toss their stuff over there and it gets in your way. And sometimes when it gets in your way, it may create even another barrier, a lack of focus. I can't focus on my success because there's so many things being thrown at me. There are so many things that I'm dealing with. A lack of focus. And it causes us to come across as confused. It causes us to come across as not understanding and I love sometimes people say, oh, they understood the assignment. Sometimes it causes us to come across as not understanding the assignment. A lack of focus. Sometimes we bring it on ourselves, but sometimes other people will throw stuff our way. I was in Bible study last night and we were talking about some things, obstacles, just obstacles that we may encounter on our journey. And one of the things that I mentioned was fear, because we talked about things like rejection and what was the other piece? Rejection, and maybe mistakes. But the point is, I said there's sometimes when we don't necessarily encounter rejection, but it just may be the fear of rejection. So we had fear of something that never even manifested. And as I was talking about fear, there was a young lady as we were leaving. She said, "You know what? I love your comment." And it occurred to me that sometimes we have our own fear, but sometimes other people will impose their fear on us. And I thought, wow, how powerful is that statement? Because what that does, it causes us not necessarily to take on their fear, but it affects our ability to focus. It affects our ability to focus. And another thing that creates a barrier sometimes to our success is just negative attitudes. Your attitude has a direct impact, on your behavior, how you show up, how you be, how you manifest, how you exhibit, how you do what you do. You can have a negative attitude. Thank you, Marissa. You can have a negative attitude even about yourself, and it will cause you, it will affect how you behave. So one of the things that we don't want to have is a negative attitude. Certainly not a negative attitude about yourself. Not a negative attitude about others. But you don't want to have a negative attitude about yourself, you all, because it will affect how you show up, how you be, how you do what you do. And so if you want to overcome that barrier, just replace the negative with the positive. That's simple math. Just replace the negative with the positive. Start developing a positive attitude about what you do. That's why I say so many times, take out a post-it, write post-its, write how you're beautiful, write how you're wonderful, write how you're excellent in this, right? Just write down your positive, write the great things that you've done throughout the day, write down your wins. I'm telling you, it all helps. It helps you so very much. It helps to dispel the notion that says you ain't worth nothing, because you're worth much more than you would ever imagine. You're worth much more than you would ever know. You want to overcome this whole notion, this negative attitude, just simply develop a positive one. Because along with that negative attitude, particularly if you have a negative attitude about yourself, then you have a whole lot of self-doubt. A whole lot of self-doubt. And when you start doubting yourself, then you really can't make any kind of effective decisions about your life, about your future, about your goals. You just can't. Self-doubt is when you start having, you lack the confidence in your abilities to do anything. And that's a real barrier. You want to do something, but you doubt, you lack the confidence in your abilities, in your gifts, in your skills. Listen, I just want to debunk that whole myth that says, you know what? I don't think I can make it. I don't think I can do it. Stop doubting yourself, you all. Sometimes, I'll admit, sometimes we get off to a slow start, but when the train starts rolling, don't let anybody stop you. Be like the little train that said, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I know I can, I know I can, I know I can. And then the little train makes its way right on up the mountain, around the curve, and keeps right on going. We have to, in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 100s, we have to get rid of self-doubt. We've done enough things. We got enough. We got a track record. We got some things under our belt that says, you know what? I don't have to doubt myself anymore. I don't have to be engaged with this thing that's called a lack of confidence in my skills and a lack of confidence in my abilities, because I can succeed. I can make it. I can do it. And not only do I think I can, but I know I can. Self-doubt can be a barrier. Distractions, barriers. I offer stability, the ability to focus. And then sometimes sometimes we can engage in too much planning. I got to go, you all, because we will overload our plates and overburden ourselves. I offer us the ability to pay equal attention to what we're planning, what we're implementing, what we're executing, what we're hoping for. And it doesn't all have to happen at the same time. Rather than too much planning, how about careful planning? I just wanted to share with us this evening. That's all I wanted to share with us this evening, that there are some barriers that we impose on ourselves. There are some barriers to our success, but we can do something about them. Let's keep doing what we do. May I say thank you all for joining me this evening. Thank you for allowing me to come into whatever space you've allowed me to come into. I appreciate that so very much. This is a good topic for me as I start my Econ 603 coursework this week. Well, congratulations. Have fun, McDiner, with that econ coursework. Let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Let's stay safe. Let's stay sane. Let's keep our heads up. Let's keep our hopes up. Please know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. And as I said at the very beginning of the broadcast this evening, I have on my Howard University Bison sweatshirt. One of them, I have lots of Howard stuff because it's homecoming time. And so this will just be my homage to Howard and to homecoming time. Listen, until the next time we talk, tell somebody else, come on and let's talk the color. The man is just trying to help save our lives. Take care. I'll see you the next time I see you all. Good night.